appreciate you jumping on kind of our first webinar in our Box Out University, if you want to call it, falling under that umbrella. So we'll do some quick introductions here in a second, and then we will get into the meat of things. So again, you can kind of see what we're going to talk about today. We'll do some introductions, and then what you need to do on the admin side at this time, planning for the next year. Get into the different social media accounts, media teams, and how to organize those, and then ultimately sponsors at the end. So again, that's kind of the roadmap. My name is Thomas Fredrickson. I am a certified master athletic administrator through the NIAAA. I am based out of South Carolina. I have been a coach and AD for 18 years in some facet or form or the other. So at pretty much every level. My cohort today, take it over.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Sam Scott. I serve in a quasi sports information director for one of the schools, one of the high schools that we work with, Sissonville High School. And so a few years ago, we started a social media club at our school, and we've been using Box Out, and so we love it. So yeah, I'm excited to be here with you and share a little wisdom of some things that we've learned along the way with our strategic media club.
First thing we're going to talk about is just what do we need to do in the summer on the admin side of things, right? And it's a couple of four things that we're going to touch with funding, equipment, working with the athletic staff, and then ultimately the media days. So I'm gonna kind of turn it over to Sam at first to let him kind of talk about what he does on the funding side of things in the summer to prepare for the year. Sam, kind of what do y'all do right now in the middle of July or the summer, so early July, to make sure that you're ready for August when school rolls around?
Yeah, part of what we've been doing this summer is just doing things that we wish we would have time to do in the fall. So trying to think ahead. And so some of the stuff that I've been working on in terms of a funding capacity is what are some things that I know we're going to need to spend money on in the fall, and where's that money going to come from? So I've been preparing invoices and emails and asks of all different kinds to prepare for local companies. We're a high school, so we're looking to universities that might want to be a part of this, that might want to advertise with us. We're looking at local businesses that might want to say, hey, we support our local community students. We've got a realtor, we've got an insurance agent, we've got a CPA firm, and so I'm working with those people to say, hey, are we going to have your support again for this next year? Because there's some things that we want to spend money on in the fall, like giveaways or new cameras or things like that. And so, we set up a new bank account this summer, and I'm getting all that stuff in order. And so I like to use the summertime to think, hey, what are some things I wish we would have done in the fall that I have time to work on right now?
Also taking that funding and purchasing equipment or restocking equipment, making sure that everything looks good. So, kind of what does that look like on y'all's end?
Yeah, we like to take an inventory of, like I said, you mentioned the media days. We've got a white screen backdrop. We've got cameras that our students use. We've got media passes that we prepare for our kids. And so, what are some things that we have there that we need? And so that's a conversation that we always have with our administrators and some other teachers. Are like, hey, what kind of things do you want to accomplish this year? How can our media club help you? And so, what are some things that we can prepare and have on hand for you all? And so yeah, that's something that we spend a lot of time doing in the summer too, is taking, hey, what do we need, what do we have, and what's the state of all that we've got.
Yeah. So like I said, that's the worst thing. You set up a media day and show up and one of the bulbs are out, right? Or one of the camera's lens is somehow another got busted or cracked. So, making sure you do inventory, just like if you're a coach or an AD doing inventory with your actual sports equipment, right? Making sure we're doing inventory with our media stuff as well. So that kind of goes along the line with working with the athletic staff. So working with the staffs is, I think, part of the admin side. And again, but with being an AD and coach, the people that we used as well, it was great. I mean, I always sat down with them in the summer and would map out try to map out the year, but sometimes it's just mapping out, the fall season. So, going through the schedule with your media people and making sure that every sport is covered in some aspect or form, right? We don't want to not make sure that we leave a sport out. But we'll kind of get to the media day. I'll kind of share the screen maybe one more time just to kind of show you kind of what they do. A quick snapshot at what Simpsonville does with their media day. Right. So again, just a white backdrop. You get the kids get different poses, things like that. But again, making it fun. Sam kind of take over and explain maybe why he uses a white versus black or green, and then kind of what they do to try to make this an event other than just a media day, if you want to say. So Sam, take it over.
What we kind of talked about as a club, as a school is, I don't know if you're familiar with an author or a speaker. His name's Simon Sinek, but he has this idea of start with why. So what's your why? Why are you doing this? Why are you trying to, have a media day? Why are you trying to have a social media presence? Why are you trying to do this? And so for us in our club, we started with this little mission statement or tagline of celebrate, honor, and encourage. So everything that we do, we want to celebrate our students, we want to honor our students, and we want to encourage them. And so a great resource if you're ever interested in digging into that like more philosophically is a book by Jesse Cole, who's the founder of the Savannah Bananas, and he's got a book called Fans First. And I've never underlined or dog-eared a book as much as I have with that one, and there's so many implications to every industry. And so we started with this idea of celebrate, honor, and encourage. And so you can have this great social media presence and you can have box out, you can try to make good posts, but if you don't have good photos, then you're going to be limited and your hands are going to be tied a little bit. And so what we decided to do was, I've got a friend who's a photographer, and it's super informal in that way, and she comes and she takes pictures, and we've got we usually do it after school during practice hours, and I work with the athletic director and the coaches, and we figure out a time that works for everybody, and we have fun with it. A lot of times we'll have music playing, and sometimes a friend comes and he's local media guy and he brings a DJ with them, or we have food, and we try to make it a party. We try to make the kids feel loose and fun, and really set them up, and so we used to do it with the green screen. And then I noticed that in a lot of the kids who have blonde hair, you'd get this green aura around them, or you could see the green through their hair. And so we started to use white because it's easily removable if you use certain apps that can help you remove the background of things. And so we started doing that. I got a cheap light set from Amazon. They're these 2 LED panels, and I think they were like maybe $100 total. And so we have that. We have this little setup. And one of the things that I like to do, if you think of like a clapboard for a movie, where they say action and they've got all the details on it, and I've got a clapboard for each student. They fill out their name, their phone number, their Instagram handle, their parents' information, and so then you've got these pictures. That's the first picture we take of each kid, and now all of a sudden every athlete's name. You've got the contact number for every athlete's parent, and so it really is kind of a multi-purpose event. It's fun for the kids, but it also really sets us up from an administrative side of knowing who's who and what's what. And so then you've got this database that if you've got a post where it says, hey, Thomas scored 20 points in the basketball game last night, you've got a picture. You can go easily figure out who Thomas is, plug it in, make a graphic. And so yeah, the media days is something that we do once at the beginning of the fall, once at the beginning of the winter sports season, and once at the beginning of the spring sports season. So we do it 3 times throughout the year. I do like to invite the local media because that makes the kids feel cool too. It gets your school some more coverage. I've had a couple people say yes to that, depending on how slow the news cycle is. But yeah, we like to have a lot of fun with that. And as you saw in some of those pictures, we like to have them bring props. Let's do silly stuff. And so yeah, that's been a real success for us. But it's honestly easy enough to do with a good camera in-house on your own.
Yeah, and if you don't have one and you're at a school, that has some type of broadcast or journal or yearbook class or club, they probably got a camera as well. So making sure that you plan and you speak with them on how maybe can you work with them, because I know from the athletic side, we had some great photographers as well, some great pictures, and the yearbook staff was always emailing me, asking me for pictures for the yearbook. So it's one of those. Well, we'll help you out, but if it would also be good if we could borrow maybe one of your cameras if they do have the higher end cameras. But just like Sam did, I did the same thing. I went on Amazon, bought one of those packets with a Canon camera, and and I went out and bought a lens that would zoom in a little bit more. But it did wonders. It was great stuff. We also had an older gentleman that just loved taking pictures, and he would come and take pictures. So I'd make sure that he showed up on the more important, if you want to say, nights like a homecoming or a senior night or something like that, to make sure that those pictures are nice and good and professional quality. Because I put the camera in the hand of our students, right? And making sure that, which we're going to talk about the media team, but sometimes you want a professional photographer to take a senior picture or something like that. What we did is, we had a room where you would take all the pictures, but then we had another room where we had a videographer sitting in there, so that the students would go in there to that room with a green screen, white screen, whatever behind them as well. And maybe toss the ball up and down, or do where he would rotate around them, and making sure that we get a good video of them, not just a video of each player kind of tossing the ball or pointing the bat or things like that, but we also let them introduce their games. So the coaches would select it, the captains would select it, however they would select the players. But on a football team, right, if there's 10 games, there would be 10 football players that would talk about an upcoming game. So it may be, please join us tonight as we face our crosstown rival so-and-so. The game starts at 7:30. The theme is going to be blackout, right? And then that's it. So you don't want to put a date on it, because, right, what happens if it rains or snows or whatever, and you got to move it to the day or after or before. But just that's another thing. So like Sam said, we had a big folder database of all these videos, and all I had to do on the day of that game was put the video out there, right? But again, all of this doesn't happen in a week, right? Just like Sam said, I can't, once August 1st comes, I can't say, oh, on August 5th, we want to have this big media day. We want a DJ, we want food, we want a videographer, a photographer, we want the local media to come. So that's why we wanted to kind of put that out here. This is when you start planning for those media days, whether it be in August or September, to make sure you have all your ducks in a row. So trying to get it already on schedule, so the coaches know about it, the parents know about it, the players know about it. So that way you make sure you have everybody. Kind of moving into the social media aspect of it. Like I said, I'll just kind of show you what we'll be talking in this. So we're going to talk about, who has access to your social media accounts, what is your graphic guidelines, username for sports, and then ultimately a branding handbook, and what that looks like for your school or conference or whatever you were to look at. So access means, obviously, who has access to post on things, right? My students and my media team had access through Box Out to post things, right? I didn't give them the username and the password to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, if you do TikTok or YouTube and things like that, but they had access to create a graphic and send it out through the Box Out platform to our different social media accounts, right? Obviously, there was guidelines, which we're going to talk about, making sure that you do certain things like that. I know Sam does a little different, kind of, what does it go into planning for access for your social media?
Yeah, so what we do is it always starts with a conversation with the powers that be, right? So our principal, he says, hey, I don't want any kids to have access to the Facebook. So that's fine. Like, it's me and it's our other club sponsor. And on the Instagram, we try to keep that limited just a few kids. And what we like to do is change the password regularly. So, in the fall, what we generally do is school initials, fall, and then the year. So it's something easy enough to remember, but you pass it on each season to something different, so that if there's someone that you only want to give the password to for a night, you can change it the next day, kind of thing. So a lot of times we'll do that for special events. So a kid comes and they check out a media pass, they get a camera, and then they also will get the password, so to speak. So that's what we do in terms of access, is making sure that you also want to give it to kids that you trust, quite frankly. You don't want want someone who's accidentally going to post them like at a party or something and post on the wrong account or whatever. And so thinking that thing through. And so that might be something you want to have a conversation with a couple of kids about and say, hey, really think I can trust you with the image of the school. It's we're kind of past the website era. We're really more into social media now. So, no one's going to go to find your website first. They're going to go to your social media. That's your first point of contact. And so when they're looking for your school, that's going to be, that's your handshake. That's your first impression. And so, so you want to make sure that you're trusting that to kids. And so setting them up with the tools and, not setting them up for failure, but setting them up for success instead is important. And so, in terms of access, adults only have the Facebook for us, and then Instagram and Twitter, we give out the passwords on a first come, first serve.
Our media team had access through Box Out, right? So they couldn't accidentally on the weekend post to the wrong account, because the only way they were posting to those accounts is if they actually went into Box Out and hit share, right? Now, I had full control of, putting the videos out there, or my, again, I gave my adult photographers and videographers, they had full access to our social medias as well. So again, it took some pressure off of me, but when it comes to like the usernames for your different accounts, so we, most of us all have an athletic general account, right? And then we have the sub ones with football and basketball, soccer, track, and things like that. A good rule of thumb, and this would take some work, especially if you're new or trying to create something, or if there's something that's been there for a while, is to kind of change it and make sure they're all similar, right? Making sure that if, what I think Simpsonville's lower score HS, right? That's their main one. So maybe if football has one, it's Simpsonville lower score football, Simpsonville lower score basketball, right? Just making sure that everyone's is kind of on the same page, and which accounts are kind of the official accounts. Sam, kind of what do y'all do on that aspect of it as well?
Well, I think the first place to start, if you haven't already, in our case, we had an Instagram that was created by a student who had graduated. We had a Facebook created by the principal, and we had a Twitter created by the vice principal, and they were all different, usernames. They were all putting out different things. And so the first thing I did was, like you said, I put them all to just Sissonville_HS. And I actually got a little business. I was actually looking for them, but I don't have any here in my office, but they're just little business cards that have our logo, and then they say at Sissonville_HS with the Facebook logo, the Twitter logo, and the Instagram logo. And so what I like to do at games, if I'm walking around taking pictures, or hey, here's where they'll be, and it's a little thing. A lot of times I'll leave them on the ticket check-in booths at games, so that when people are coming, they the visitors can be like, oh, look what this school's doing. So yeah, that was the first thing I did. Was I made all the accounts, I unified them under one handle, and then I had access to them. And so I think that's the most important thing on the start, is if you have those that are spread out, like you're saying, some coaches made or whatever, getting them all where there's at least one person who touches everything. And so and then we've started making some Sissonville football, Sissonville basketball, whatever posts and accounts, and that's not something that our kids have decided they want to go full steam ahead on. They kind of just want to do the main one. But what we are doing is we're gathering those accounts so that if one day we want to, we can, and someone else isn't making a Sissonville football account that we don't want to, we can at least own that Instagram handle, but not necessarily use that account if we want to too. So that's kind of what we do. We try to get that out there. We made a little logo with our @ sign, and we like to put that on our posts. We like to put that around the school so that kids know, or parents know, community people know, this is where to go if you want the most updated information.
Yeah, that's all good stuff. So we're gonna dive into what really could take the full webinar, but like I said, we actually have it coming as a Box Out class in our Box Out University. So if you want more information on how to do a branding handbook, we'll kind of have information at the end. But a big part, and what took me a lot of time during the summer, especially when I went to a school that didn't have this, was creating a branding handbook, right? Creating a roadmap for your school, right? And we'll kind of get into kind of what that looks like. But Simpsonville, Sam does a great job. They call it a toolkit. It could be a handbook, it could be a guidelines, it could be whatever you want to call it. But having something on on paper and that's documented. Again, I like how they have their vision and mission statement just right there, the first page, to making sure everybody, especially with on the media team, is on the same page, right? And I think he talked about, celebrate and honored and encourage is there. But really, when you get into the logo, right? How many of us have, maybe don't have any type of guideline, and maybe you're the Tigers, and every one of your sports teams use a different tiger, right? Or every one of your sports teams use a different orange, or for in Centerville's thing, a red. I'll kind of like, this is Sam's branding kit, so I'll let him kind of talk about what they did with their logos and even their word marks, as you see there at the bottom.
Yeah, I think what I want to say first is, if you notice our softball logo, we are the Indians, which, Thomas and I were talking about this. You might have a mascot that is not great in today's standards, and so we try to work around that. We try to be honest and loving and respectful with this. And so honestly, this softball logo is something that we don't use a whole lot, but it is in there because you need to know what you have. You need to know, again, your social media is your first point of contact. And so I don't know if any of you on this webinar have a mascot like that, but you're kind of living in that era. Are they going to make us change it? Or are they not? But so that's something that we think through on our media team. How do we put a good foot forward? How are we respectful? How can we be kind and show a good thing for our school? So this is a living document. This is something that we update. This one hasn't actually been updated for this year. We have a new logo that we've added. We actually changed the name of our club. We used to call it the Media Strategy Club. Now we call it the Strategic Media Club. So there's just little things like that. And if you scroll down there, it'll show there's our colors. So we've got Arrowhead black, which is just black. We've got Tomahawk red when there's the hex codes that Thomas was talking about. And so we like to have those. Then that way I can say, hey, coaches, instead of using this logo that someone else made and we've had forever, go to this thing. We've got a page on our website where they can download it. Say they're working with a local vendor and they say, hey, we need your logo. Well, great. Here's a link. You can go download it from there. We've got our fonts. We ripped a font from Florida State. We use theirs. And the Highway Gothic, that's a road sign font. I wanted our font to be something that was like kind of recognizable and comfortable to people, easy to read. And so that's the one that I just chose for kind of our body font. And so if you keep scrolling down, we like to talk about our audiences for our different social media accounts. And so we like to identify who are we posting to, who's seen our content on these things. And so again, this is beyond the just, hey, let's put up, when are the basketball games? When are these things going on? This is getting a little bit more like into the education side of things, the PR, the marketing, the philosophical side of stuff. So we identify, hey, most of the time students follow our Instagram. So we're going to post content that is engaging with our students. And so if you scroll down again, there's, I think the next one is our Twitter. And so we realize that this is mainly outsiders. This is the sports writers. This is the local news channels. This is maybe some alumni. These are people that aren't necessarily members of our school community. And so a lot of this is just sharing information. It's, I like to mimic what the minor league baseball teams do with their Twitter accounts, where they respond in GIFs all the time. And so one of my favorite things to do on our Twitter is I'll get on and I'll search the word Sissonville, which is our community name. And whatever tweets come up as the latest tweets that say Sissonville, I try to interact with them in some way. So, and then lastly, our Facebook is mainly community members. That's the insiders. And so you'll notice that on the Facebook, it's not nearly as put together. It's, a random graphic about a gift card basket from the softball team. There's some stuff that's not necessarily as professional, but this is more of the insiders. We're not as public facing with our Facebook account. This is more the people who know us and love us. And so we don't quite have to have that great first impression because we already know them. They're family, so to speak. So identifying who your audience is, figuring out who you're speaking to is important, and understanding that when you put out content.
Yeah. And also, I mean, for those who are looking at it going, do I have to do 3 different things for 3 different social medias? No, like what I've always done is whatever I put on Instagram, I put on Twitter and Facebook as well. Just to make sure I was hitting, like you said, every group, the students, the outsiders, the community, the families. So you could do that again, if you're just getting started and maybe it is just you. You know, if you know, just put it, if you hit share, you can put it to all three of them. And it's the exact same thing. I do want to touch on where you have your logos, your primary, secondary, and your vintage, and on kind of how to use the colors within your logo, right?
I'll say too that on our website we have a disclaimer at the top that says these logos can be used for informational purposes only, because I don't know about, you know, in everyone's areas where they live, but we've got every mom, right, has a little t-shirt company and she wants to make t-shirts, and you know, they'll use our logo and they don't give any of the money back to the school. They make profit off of our brand identity, which is illegal in our area, but no one really knows that. So yeah, this is our branding page. This is where we like to direct local media where they can grab things. And yeah, so this is the new logo there, the mascot logo. We worked with the graphic designer on something that we thought was respectful. We talked with our county Board of Education office, who walked us through what that needed to look like. And we wanted something that was unique to us because there's 1,000 Indian head mascots. And so we wanted something, if you'll notice, the headband matches this color scheme on the secondary logo. It's got the little outline. There's the feathers match the feathers on the S primary logo. The war paint is in the shape of an S on his cheek. And so we want something, again, that's modern, but also respectful. So again, that's something that we're having to navigate as our school that's unique to us, is what are we doing with our mascot here. So having this page has been really helpful for us because we can direct local media there. We can direct our companies there that you know, want to do our uniforms or whatever, locker room renovations. It's all here. And you know, I know when I was building this page, I had to email 100 different people trying to track everything down. So I use Squarespace to build this. It's relatively inexpensive. I've got a sponsor for the page. It's at the top of the page. It actually says that our website is powered by this construction company, B&A Construction. And so you know, we like to sponsor that out to get the cost coverage. So having this has been really great for our school.
Yeah, when Sam and I were talking and he first said that they had this and this is where they direct all the media to go to, that was huge for me. I was like, because you know, the media, you know, I've been at a school too where we kind of rebranded and changed things, and they kept using the same logo that everybody really didn't like, right? And that's the reason why we changed the logo. And how many times you email them and call them and say, hey, here is the file, and you send it to them and they still get it wrong. So I love this, where you're just like, hey, here's our logos. Come take it, come save it on your computer, save it on your phone. That way you're using the correct stuff. So a big deal of this is the media teams, right? You can't do it by yourself. You know, even if you're at a small school that has a small number of sports teams, or even if you're helping with activities and extracurriculars, it's still a lot if you want to do it and do it right, and be able to put stuff out and share. If you are at a middle size to a bigger size high school, making sure that all your sports get the same love, right? And not just the big ones, right? To me, there's never been a major sport in my athletic departments, because it doesn't matter if the girl is out there playing tennis and she may never make it into the top 7 of the ladder to play, but still during that season, that sport is major to her and her family, right? That goes back to the scheduling and working with the athletic department, the athletic teams and coaches, making sure that you can get there and not just highlighting the quote unquote moneymaker, if you want to say, team. So, you know, kind of putting the teams together with the media team. So this would be your, you know, scheduling. How do you schedule within your media team, the different roles? I think, you know, Sam's roles were a little different than what my roles were with my media team, and we'll kind of get into it. And then obviously having a hashtag, having a motto, having a cry call, if you want to say it, for your media team. So Sam, kind of explain your scheduling process, and then if mine was a little different, I can kind of speak on that as well, and then we'll go into the roles of the different media teams.
Yeah, if you want to put up that next slide, actually, I can use that as a riff while I'm talking. But yeah, so what we we did, for a while it was just me. This is an app called Pummel that we use to schedule and to communicate with our kids. And so Pummel is a knockoff Slack. So some of you may have used Slack in the past, but it's a common workspace software that colleges and businesses use. And so again, this is part of our goal to make this an educational experience for our kids. We want them to learn, have real world experience that's not just making posts about come to the basketball game tonight. So yeah, we what we like to do is we have them split. If you notice on the side, there's different group chats. So this is a channel for just a general communication with people. This screenshot in particular, we were trying to decide. There's a boutique that was sponsoring our email newsletter. We were trying to figure out, do we want to do it? The Sissonville Scoop dressed by May December boutique or tailored by, and then we had a kid who suggested fashion by in the community or the company like that, so we went with that. But on the side, you'll notice we've got a girls basketball channel, we've got a girls soccer channel, and so what we do at the beginning of the year is we like to get kids on teams that they're excited about. So we've got a lot of kids in our club that are in show choir because the club's co-sponsor is in show choir, and she covers the arts and scholastic side of things, and I cover the athletic side of things. And so we've got a team that covers the show choir, we've got a team that covers the band, we've got a team that just does academic stuff, we've got a team that handles our podcast, we've got a team that covers golf. And so a lot of kids are double dipped because there's only a couple golf matches, and show choir doesn't start until January and things like that. So so we like to split kids up in there. And so as assignments come in, hey, there's this post that needs done. A teacher says, I'd like to honor this person for winning math field day, or I'd like to recognize this player for making All-State. We can say, hey, Sam made All-State. I want to make a post about them. Can someone take this up? And so they take it up, they do it, and we communicate that way. So the way that we incentivize our kids is that every post that they make is 1 hour of community service, and every real hour time they're at an event covering it, that's a real hour of community service too. And so we have staggered times based on when you've joined the club. So if you join the club your senior year, you have to get 50 hours and you get a cord for graduation. And so that's how we incentivize them, and our principal signed off on that. And so that's how we structure ours. That's how we put our team together, and we communicate with them on that app, Pummel. So we're actually getting ready to switch to a new app called Band. It seems like it's going to be the best for us going forward, but there's a lot of resources out there like that.
Yeah, we've used SportsU. SportsU is the same way. We use that as our means of communicating with the teams and the media team. That way, because again, your school may have some type of policy where you cannot share, adults cannot have students cell phones or contacts and things like that. And again, sometimes it's just a good rule of thumb. But if you're in an app like SportsU, then a lot of times you don't have to have that direct number from them, but you can contact them directly through that messaging and calling and things like that, without having their physical number. But before we move on, we had a great question, and this is always one. The question was, do you post when you score, or you post the score when you lose? Well, the easy answer to that is yes. The hard answer as an AD and coach is no, right? But if you want to be political, and you want to make sure that you're covering and you're unbiased, if you want to say, right? Because on your social media, on the media things, sometimes you have to be unbiased, right? If I'm putting out that my soccer team, beat this other team 10-0, and then we go play a phenomenal soccer team and they beat us 0-10, right? We posted, and we tagged the other school that we beat them 10-0. It's only really fair for us to post that we lost 0-10, right? So a lot of eyes are going to be on your social media again if you're putting out this stuff consistently. So you need to put something out there that you lost. Most time, again, I'll unless it's a huge blowout, I'll put the number up there. I did have a lacrosse game one time, we lost 0-18. It's like, yeah, I'm not putting that on there, right? I'm gonna put, tough loss, it hurt, but we'll learn from it, something like that. But yeah, definitely if you're going to post the wins, you got to post the losses as well.
I might just add, I would recommend don't start anything that you can't finish with a thing like this.
Mhm.
So, if you think it's going to be too much to keep up with score updates, we don't want to start it if we can't finish it. Also, we want to be consistent.
Yeah, well, like he was saying, like I had different roles. I had about 15 student media teams. Even when I was at the 10th largest school in the state, and we had 48 teams, right? My main focus was going to be varsity, right? We would put out a game day post for JV and C teams and middle school and things like that. But we would do the score updates for varsity, right? Because those scores matter for playoff standings and rankings and things like that. But again, I had a nice little size army to help, and we made sure that there was a student media specialist. We called it a specialist at each game, each event, even if it is an away game. Right, they jumped on the bus, and that was part of the communicating with the coaches. They jumped on the bus with the team and went to the away games, and were able to report from those away games as well. That way, if it is one of those nights, I know here in South Carolina, the spring is crazy for us. You could really have 8 different games going on, or matches with all your different sports. So I want to make sure that all 8 are represented. But again, that was me. Some say, look, we're strictly going to do home events, which is great and fine, which is what I started doing. But then as our media team grew, then I'm like, okay, yeah, we've got the manpower to send these students on the road as well. Again, the only way they were able to post was through the Box Out platform itself, and when they hit the share button. So it wasn't like they were had full access to those social media accounts, and so that was the way I did it. And like you was talking about kind of moving into the roles. So I had some media specialists that's all their job was to create graphics. Then that's because they enjoyed it. They loved being able to use the creativity and do things like that. I had some that were all they were was a photographer, right? It was something they had a passion about. They wanted to learn more. Maybe it's something they wanted to turn into a career. So that way I had roles of photographer. I had some that were videographers, right? So my thought was, well, I'm going to create this organization, this team, and to help these students understand there's jobs in athletics outside of being the athlete or the coach, right? I even gave my students the free will to do the music at our games. Now, the only reason why is because we were using a software that screens everything, and if it wasn't in that software, they couldn't play it. So I also gave them that right too. PA announcements, students PA announce for me. So again, when you think about a media team, yes, the main thing to get out to the community is the graphics, but also how can you use those as well with PA announcing, with running music, with interviews, right? And so I would create a Google sheet, and the students would go in and be able to sign up for games inside the Google sheet. So I would know that every game was covered. So we even dived into to where this is the athlete that's going to be featured on the game day post, or this is the athlete that's going to be featured on the score update or the starter post or whatever like that. So it's not the same 1 or 2 athletes that get posted on everything. Make sure that every athlete is getting recognized in some form or fashion. Sam, is there anything you want to kind of add to that?
No, I think you covered it. I think it's important to hit all the kids, and we try to do that too. It sometimes can be hard, but I think I would just suggest, like, don't do for one kid what you can't do for everybody, but also you got people understand the limitations and being realistic. There's not going to be photos of every kid, so but yeah, I would just reiterate what I said earlier. Don't start anything you can't finish with it. You don't want your audience to get used to something and then it stopped.
So we'll get to the last one with the sponsors, and basically, who are we giving credit to? So yeah, Sam sent over a couple of their sponsors. I'll let him talk about how they did sponsors through media. I kind of explain kind of a little bit how I did it, and again, and why you got to plan for this in the summer, so you're not doing it in August and September, and then we'll kind of wrap things up.
Yeah, so just real quickly, these are 2 examples. The bottom image is our website sponsor, BNA Construction. They're local construction company. This cheerleader photo is from our fall media day. I like to use the cheerleaders on random graphics like this because this is kind of what they do. And also there's not as many cheer competitions and you don't get to post those pictures as often. So I like to use them when we just need something random. And so B&A Construction, and then they, I put in a little pitch for them. Hey, here's how much it covers to host our website. It's going to be on, I like to drive all of our links through. So an example, like there was a news story that came out about our club today. I like to link it through our website so that our sponsors get credit. I don't directly link to the newspaper. I link through a link page on our website. So, and then the Sissonville Scoop, that's our email newsletter. Again, we talked about it earlier, fashioned by May December boutique. And then where it says Sissonville Community Supporters, that's just a general logo that I'll use to kind of refer to all of our sponsors. So our website sponsor, our newsletter sponsor, we've got 5 social media sponsors that we rotate through on posts. And so, if there's not really room to put all of those on there, I'll use that one logo to give them credit and point people back to our sponsorship page on our website.
Yeah, we got a question that came through and I'm gonna touch on that in a second. But like you said, that the social media sponsors, I stopped really selling banners in the stadiums or the gyms, and I started selling social media posts because then I was able to actually show people how the analytics on how many people seen it. So you think about it, if I sell a $250 banner for a volleyball game, right? I'm gonna have to spend $125 on the banner, depending on the size, right? And then only a couple hundred people maybe are going to see that banner, unless you're in a state or school that volleyball is very big, right? Not many people are going to see that. It's going to be kind of hard to sell to a company. But as soon as I started tagging, I was like, well, you're going to be our volleyball sponsor. So every volleyball post we put out there, whether it's game day, starter, score update, player introductions, whatever, you are our volleyball sponsor. So every post is going to have your logo attached or your logo on the picture. And it's also going to have your business's information in the caption where they can click and go directly to your website, your Facebook page, your Twitter page, wherever you want them to go, is where that would be. So a lot of businesses like that, because now their business is in people's hands, right? It's in their phone versus them getting home and be like, what was the name of that orthopedic place that sponsors volleyball, right? So it's in their hands. A lot of businesses like that. And then 2, I was able to show analytics and say, yeah, so now this 100 people that would have come to the gym, now they see it, but they share it because they share it on their personal things. Now it could go up to 1,000 people are seeing this. It was a great question that came through is when it comes to social media posts and game day reporting, how do you deal with the kids that don't want their pictures public, right? I know we have our school, whenever you get enrolled in our school system, there's a box that you check. I want my pictures public or I don't want them public, right? And that includes in the yearbook, that includes on the social media pages, that includes everywhere. So as an AD or as a coach, you would have to check that. The way I got around it is when I stood in front of our parents at the mandatory parent meetings, right? My question was, or my statement was, I'm fixing to blast your students all over social media. Is anybody not want their student on social media? Raise your hand, right? So if they raised their hand, then I took that name down, I took that player down, and they got put on a list on don't put this student's image on our social media accounts. That's how I did it. I don't know, Sam, if you do it any differently.
No, I think it ultimately is your responsibility, right? And I think a lot of it depends on your principal, your administration, and who's willing to take the fall, right, so to speak. So we've got a little bit of a maverick of a principal who's like, well, if someone complains, like, we'll take it down, and so he's not as concerned. And we've got some other schools in our district that look at our school and they say, man, I wish we could do what you're doing, but our principal, we have to comb through everything, every single photo release form. And so I think, having open and frank conversations with parents, with your administration is helpful.
I want to first appreciate Sam for jumping on and discussing with us. He is actually going to be helping us with a little bit of Box Out University. I saw there's another question. I'll get that question in a second. So with Box Out University, it's free to all coaches and ADs. We're going to actually dive in once. If you ever done a cohort, it's going to kind of be a mini cohort. So for September, October, November, we're just going to meet once a month, and we're going to dive into branding handbooks, content marketing, student media team. So if this is something that interests you, you can scan the QR code below, or you can look at our social medias. They have this as well, or you can email me directly and I can get that form to you. Like I said, we're just getting signups right now. And then like I said, we're going to dive into that in September and November. So I'm gonna leave that up if people are scanning it. We did have a question on how much does the Box Out platform cost. Our basic is $480. The plus is $1,500. Plus is where a lot of high schools hang out, and the premium is $24. So, and also if you are a hometown ticketing a school, so if you use hometown ticketing for your online ticketing, we just partnered with them about a month ago. You actually get premium for free. So if you are one of those people that are on here, please let me know. Please let your hometown rep know, and they will get you set up, and you will get the premium for free. But even if not, even if you're not hometown, all the plans, the basic, the plus, and the premium, you have unlimited teams and users. So every team can have access to that account. You had unlimited users. So you can have 100 users on there as well. So again, sell it to your AD, sell it to your principal or your dean or whatever you have, because again, it's unlimited. So now, just like, Sam said, if you do help with the fine arts, right, you have the fine arts can have their own team as well. So
yeah, I was gonna say you might get sticker shock by that, and I don't work for Box Out. I don't really have a dog in the fight necessarily, but like it has been really great for us to have that platform, to have the ease of getting out. Their quote, their slogan is graphics at the speed of sports, right? And it's great. I mean, it's awesome. I use it all the time. I love it. And you might get sticker shock from that. But let me tell you how easy it is to raise. So like we have a school of 600 kids, less than 600 right now, actually. And our posts reached 500,000 people this last year. And so if you can tell your local insurance agent, hey, your posts will reach 500,000 people, that's like a dollar for every 1,700 people. I mean, where else do you get that return on investment? And so it is remarkably easy. If I can do it at a little 600 person high school, like you can raise the money for that easily when you tell people how many people they're going to reach with advertising through your school.
Yeah, and just like he said, is I never paid for it. I always got sponsors to pay for it. So with the social media posts, with the website sponsors and things like Sam is doing as well. We also have a Sports U community group where this is kind of for getting started. So there's only about a handful of people in there, but I think this is going to grow greatly. So if you just want to have a place where you can communicate and chat with other ADs or SIDs or media people, and if you have Sports U, if you just want to take a picture of the screen, but that's the code. Once you get into Sports U, type in that code, you'll get into our Box Out community where we're going to be able to interact with each other. Okay, this is actually one of our graphics I wanted to put on there. So we actually have the ability to create our own QR codes in our software. And if you scan this QR code, this is my contact information. It's going to get directly saved to your phone. All right, so you can do that via an online ticketing platform. You can send it to a website. You can send them to a photo gallery, whatever the link is. But this is also another way to get your contact information out there versus having to always have it put up. But again, if you scan that QR code, then directly into your phone, you'll have my cell phone number, my email, and things like that. Feel free to reach out anytime. This is my personal cell. So it's not a business cell. So you have a direct line to me. So make sure you reach out and see us. And I appreciate everyone listening today. I don't see any other questions, but we would love to have you in the Box Out U classes come this fall. And as we continue to grow things, we'll have another webinar coming out in August that will kind of focus on how do you start this media teams and media programs and all that if you haven't already. So Sam, I appreciate you jumping on with us. For everyone that hung out with us for an hour, thank you, and we look forward to chatting with you down the road. And We'll see you next time.